Way, if anybody wants a decent, actually, I'll say more than decent. If anybody wants a really good day pack, the North Face Basin 18 liter has been awesome. I'm not going to go over and do a huge review on it, but it does come with a rainfly, straps here to hold hiking poles. Comes with this hydration bladder area, which I'm actually just reusing for a seat pad. And it carries all of the gear that I need pretty well. Good girl. And that's all part of that same downhill, very short, fun little section. I've ridden it a few times. Come here. You want a treat? Sit. Yes, good girl. There's a good pup. One more. Shake. High five. Good girl. Good pup. Good girl, legs.
All right, everyone. So, as you see, I'm out here walking around some trails. We're on some local trails near the house. These are mountain bike and hiking trails. Usually, I'm mountain biking, but I have hiked them quite a bit. There's approximately 12 miles out here. But anyways, I'm not making this video to talk about these specific trails. I want this video to be about the Georgia Loop. This is the final video that I'm gonna put out about it. I mentioned in the last video at the end of the day that I would do a follow-up video. This isn't something that I do very often. In fact, I don't know if I've ever done it at all with any other hike. I used to do a rating system where I would say I rate this trail blank out of 10, and would I do it again or would I not do it again? Kind of got away from that because I've just been hiking a lot of the same trails. So before I get too far into this video, I want to take a minute to address the viewers. That would be you guys. This is something that I don't do nearly enough because I don't want to feel like I'm begging. And then I made the transition into hiking, and I've been pushing to do trails or loops or make miles that I've been wanting to make for several years now. And just so happens they are a lot of the miles that I've been making have been on the Appalachian Trail. So I've been generating a lot of views and a lot of subscribers from what I'm gonna think is the hiking community, but overall I think it has a lot to do with the Appalachian Trail in general. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and say thank you guys so much for giving my videos love. I have gained in the last 3 weeks 10,000 plus views on just hiking videos alone. I have also gained 160-ish subscribers in the last 72 hours. So I'm very humbled. I would never expected to garner that kind of attention. So I really appreciate all the subscribers and all the views. And I guess now would be a good time to go ahead and introduce myself to all the new people. My name is Derek, and this is my channel, Dirtbag Adventures. It's roughly 3.5 years old. I started it, I started it about halfway through my sober journey. I needed a way to get out and stay busy so that I wasn't thinking about turning back to the things that were creating demons inside of me. So I've always loved the outdoors, camping, hunting, fishing, all those things. So I picked up videography and photography, and that kind of has landed me where I'm at now. Okay, so on to the Georgia Loop hike. I've got some notes here that I've taken the liberty to write down or put into the phone since I've gotten back from the trail, and I've had a little bit of time to kind of go over all the information that I kind of gathered in my head. Also, I was taking notes along the trail. I always do. I like to pin locations on Gaia, camp spots that I could go to in the future, trail distances, overlooks, all these things I try to keep up with when I was getting serious about doing the hike. When I was doing the research, one of the things that I found that was very common among most of the hikers, most everybody starts at Woody Gap on Highway 60 outside of Dahlonega. They hike northbound to just shy of the summit of Blood, where they pick up the Duncan Ridge, and then they take Duncan Ridge west all the way across Cooper's Creek, Benton Mackaye south, back to Three Forks area. Not really Three Forks, they're about a mile shy of Three Forks. They the BMT, the AT kind of branch off from each other at Lone Creek Falls, which is a mile north of Three Forks. And then they hike it all the way back to Woody Gap. Camp after Christmas, I actually started at Byron Reese Parking, which is it's between Vogel State Park and Mountain Crossings on 129. It is the parking area for the AT at that gap, at Nils Gap. They don't want you to park at the hiking center, so you park just down the hill from it. Big parking, plenty of parking spaces, although the day I started it was packed, so you may want to try to get there earlier than noon. I actually had to make a couple loops to find a parking spot. Ended up finding a parking spot, and I chose to start the very beginning of my hike summiting Blood Mountain from Byron Reese, Nils Gap area. Summited Blood and then dropped down to the Duncan Ridge, just 0.2 off the summit of Blood Mountain. And then I hiked the entire loop back and had to summit Blood to get back to my car. I don't know that I would recommend anyone else do it that way, but if you're up for a challenge, it's definitely something to keep in mind. So on Duncan Ridge Trail, it seemed like from Blood Mountain to Mackaye Gap was the most traveled part of the Duncan Ridge. So approximately half of the trail, 11 miles or so. Not the best blazed even on that section, but the trail is so worn even in the wintertime that it was relatively easy to follow. I never had any concerns about getting lost or any of that. And then even from Mackaye Gap up Aiken Mountain and around Aiken Mountain was okay. Once I got around Aiken Mountain going towards Aiken Gap, things started taking a turn for the worse. There were a lot of blowdowns. The trail was hard to read. Very little to no blazes. Got turned around a few times. Kind of mentioned that in my videos of being on trail. And then Fish Gap was great. It looked like it had been really maintained, so shout out to the people who are taking care of that. But basically from Fish Gap all the way to Rhodes Mountain, there's like little to no traffic there. And you can see, I mean, I could see where the trail was supposed to be, but there was so much leaf litter and none of the leaves had been upturned, which made me understand that no one had been in that area. No trail runners, no hikers, not really very many animals either. So it was pretty difficult to keep up with the trail. If you were new at hiking or if you were new to the woods, like a lot of people are, and you don't have very good terrain reading skills or you don't have very good map reading skills yet, it probably could be pretty difficult for you to follow the trail through there. This was also part of the reason why I chose to hike a 25-mile day. You know, I kind of talk about water in the videos, but essentially the entire length of Duncan Ridge, even after a month of rain, had zero water. And there, I had some springs pinned, but it would have required me to walk off of a trail that was already hard to follow into the bush, maybe 100 to 200 yards sometimes, down into a valley of thick rhododendron or mountain laurel. And I'd already done that earlier in the morning and it did not pay off, so I ended up hiking a couple hundred yards through the woods for no reason, which isn't a big deal. I enjoy bushwhacking, but you know, in a situation where you're trying to conserve energy because you know Duncan Ridge is notorious for elevation, it was a lot of wasted energy. As I mentioned in one of my videos, it may have been the first one or maybe been the second one, I don't remember, but if you do a Google search for the Georgia Loop or even just the Duncan Ridge Trail, you're gonna see a bunch of different articles. You're gonna see some from Atlanta Trails, you're gonna see some from All Trails, you're gonna see some from different people's hiking vlogs or hiking community type stuff. And one of the things that I kind of found out doing research is Duncan Ridge is considered to be the hardest point-to-point trail in the state of Georgia. I think mostly based on the fact of how long it is and how much elevation gain you have over the 17 miles. Then you combine the Duncan Ridge Trail with the BMT and the AT to create the loop, and I did see several sources citing the Georgia Loop as the hardest loop hike in Georgia. I would also assume because of the distance and because of the overall total elevation gain. I don't think there's any other loop combinations, maybe aside from some loops that you could throw together in Cohutta, that would kind of rival that big 60-mile loop. It's just, there's not a lot of connector trails unless you wanted to hike some Forest Service roads. But so with that being said, I want to give you a list of the mountains that I summited and the mountains that I climbed but didn't quite summit, and I want to give you all the elevation. So we're just going to start from the beginning, the way I hike counterclockwise, and I'm going to name them all off. Blood Mountain, 4,458 feet. Slaughter Mountain, 4,321 feet. Wildcat Knob, 3,927 feet. Coosa Bald, 4,285 feet. Buckeye Knob, 3,734 feet. Buck Knob, 3,533 feet. West Wildcat Knob, 3,527 feet. Aiken Mountain, 3,533 feet. Clements Mountain, 3,491 feet. High Top Mountain, 3,294 feet. Rhodes Mountain, 2,986 feet. Licklog Mountain, 3,481 feet. Walla Halla Mountain, 3,091 feet. Ramrock Mountain, I did not get the elevations for these. I apologize, but I did summit Ramrock Mountain, Big Cedar Mountain, Granny Top Mountain, Turkey Stamp, and then Blood Mountain again. Those are all the mountains that I summited, went right over the top of the summit. And these are the ones that I either climbed up a little ways and then walked and skirted, or climbed almost all the way, or just skirted around. Little John Dick Mountain, Big John Dick Mountain, Hawk Mountain, and Burnett's Field Mountain. Overall, adding the elevation for Blood Mountain twice, I have it figured down to something like 18,000 total feet of elevation gain over 60 miles or 61 miles exactly. I don't know, it's not an exact number, because I do not track my hikes when I'm on that long of a hike. I have to deal with charging devices, I have to deal with charging my phone, I have to deal with getting content. Just running Gaia or GPS systems or something like that to track is just killing battery more, so I don't do it. I have seen variations of the total elevation gain. A lot of sources have it at like 15,000 and some change. I've seen some sources have it as high as 21,000. I don't think it's as high as 21,000, and I'm going to go conservative and say with adding Blood Mountain twice in there, I'm looking at about 18,000 feet of elevation gain, which is a lot. Duncan Ridge is no joke. It is probably one of the harder trails that I have hiked from point to point. Considering I did it all in one day, maybe the hardest. There is a reroute from basically just past Sarvis Gap, which is where one of the water sources is supposed to be. And the reroute actually has you, you go through Sarvis Gap and then you drop down a couple elevation profiles on the contour lines, and you bypass Payne Knob, Gregory Knob, and Gregory Gap, and then it regains the original trail above Chinkapin Ridge, and then you climb Rhodes Mountain. So as far as the loop itself, it was one of the more challenging hikes I've done. Definitely top 2, top 3. Definitely distance is a factor, elevation's a factor. Not having any water for at least a quarter of the entire loop is also a factor. Would I hike the loop again? I think I would. I would like to try it at a different time of year, maybe as winter's ending and into spring. I have a little bit better of an idea of what I would do different already versus the first time I hiked it. I would also really enjoy doing day hikes on Duncan Ridge. That is something that I've actually talked to the wife about, is going out and doing some short 3-4 mile day hikes. Duncan Ridge parallels Duncan Ridge Road for a long way, so you'll drop down to the gap and you'll be right at the road. So it's very easy to set up multiple day hikes in that area. And Duncan Ridge is a ridge, so any section you hike through there is going to be absolutely beautiful. Again, you can't tell it on the camera, but you know, being out there on the ridge is most definitely it's worth the hike. I do not recommend people do this hike who are not experienced or who have not done some sort of multiple day trips. The reason why is because if you've never been on a trip or experienced hiking where you don't have water for a few days, you're not going to really know what to do on the Duncan Ridge hike, because, you know, hike your own hike. Everybody does their own things. Everybody hikes their own miles. I am fortunate enough that my body allows me to hike 20-25 miles a day, but not everybody is that way. Some people, you know, limit themselves 10 or 12 miles a day. If you're only hiking 10 or 12 miles a day, you will spend the night without water. So you're either going to have to carry a lot of water, which is not advisable with that elevation gain, or you're going to go without. One last thing, if you have any kind of troubles with your knees, which if you're an avid hiker, you do a lot of trips, you're probably going to have some kind of issues. So I have a condition called hiker's knee or jumper's knee, and as a side condition of that, I also have an issue called alloidal band syndrome. Essentially, the tendon from the top of your pelvic bone down to the side of your knee just likes to give a lot of problems. It swells up, it causes inflammation in the knee, it causes fluid retention, and the more you hike, the worse it gets. There's not really a fix for it other than stretching. There's no surgical fix. You can get a cortisone shot, do your research into that, but so for me, it is a knee brace, and I usually take Tylenol, but you can bring your choice of pain relief, Advil, goodies, whatever works best for you. You're gonna need it on this hike. Again, the elevation on the Duncan Ridge is straight up, no switchbacks. Also, it's straight down, no switchbacks. You're really putting a lot of force on your knees on a lot of those hikes, on a lot of those down climbs rather, and your legs will let you know it by the end of the trip. So keep that in mind as well. Also, something I forgot to mention a little bit earlier when I was doing the introductions and stuff. This is my Australian Shepherd mix. Her name is Agatha. She is my hiking partner. You'll start seeing her in a lot more videos now. Unfortunately, about a year ago, she had we were doing some hiking in the woods or some walking. We try to walk every day. It's in the middle of July. In the summer, I try to go in the morning or afternoons so she doesn't overheat. But she ended up having a heat stroke. We think it was a heat stroke. And it really kind of messed her up for a few months. So I stopped walking her, taking her on hikes for a while to let her recover. And now I've picked up bringing her on hikes again. I think she's 4 years old, and the first 3 years of her life, she did a lot of hiking with me. She's been on several long sections of the Benton Mackaye up in Tennessee. She's been on several long sections of the AT with me. And I'm just kind of trying to slowly, come on, this way, pup. I'm just kind of trying to slowly work my way back into getting her to be able to hike, 10, 12 miles over multiple days again, so I can start bringing her on overnights. she's doing pretty good. She does like 5-6 miles a day right now, no problem. So coming out to the road here, so we're gonna do a little bit of a road walk, just because I mentioned earlier that these trails also have mountain bikes, and even though there's nobody out here really today, I don't want to be hiking the wrong direction on the trail, which I was, and get hit from behind by a mountain bike. So it's not a very long road walk, just down around this curve and then up into the south parking lot where my truck is parked. And then me and Agatha will be on our way back to the house. I'll catch up with you guys when I get to the truck. .16 miles. So not a long day, but relatively short. And we're still out making miles, getting exercise, so can't go wrong with that. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. I will catch you on the next one.